Well, hello and welcome to the Real Insights Masterclass for tonight. My name is Sophie Musumeci and I am the co-founder of Real Entrepreneur Mums. I'm really excited to be introducing our guest trainer tonight, Suzy Jacobs, and just her story and what she's been through and the amazing life that she has created is just so inspiring, and I'm just so grateful that she said yes to jumping on with us tonight. So I'll introduce Suzy in a minute. But for those of you that don't know who Real Entrepreneur Mums is, we are a business referral group. We connect women with each other so that we can inspire each other through the most amazing supportive community who have got their back, so that you can get focused, you can be confident, and you can go out there and just smash your goals. So the Real Insight Fortnightly Masterclass is just one way that we are doing that. So really looking forward to sharing that with you. So my gorgeous co-founder, Alison Valenti, a little bit about her. I think most of you know who she is by now, but Alison has 3 beautiful children and is a business coach. She's been in mentoring and has corporate background similar to myself. She founded Mum's Business Kickstart Coaching. And she believes that you can be more, do more, and have more. You just have to know the steps. And she's one of those crazy people that sets ridiculous goals. Like, I set big goals, but she just takes it to a whole nother level. So Alison runs like 5Ks a day. Okay, that to me, that's even crazy. But now she is going to run a marathon. And I'm just so blown away at that. And it's not about whether you achieve the goal or not, it's the fact that you go for it and you get yourself out of your comfort zone, and that is absolutely who she is and what she lives. So a little bit about me. So happily married most of the time. Have 2 delicious children, Toby and Stella, and I still consult in my corporate career. I'm currently working with IAG, which is just awesome. I'm a change manager and work with leadership and really looking at culture of people and how to get that right culture in an organisation. I was just talking to Suzy and telling her I used to live on a farm. So I grew up, the closest town was 2 Ks away, and 400 people lived in that town. And now I live in Sydney and life is very different. And I believe that you can absolutely achieve anything that you want. Anything is possible if you have the vision, the passion, and you take the action. That's all it comes down to. So why listen to us? Like, who the hell is Sophie and Alison? Who is Real Entrepreneur Mums? Just in our not even 2 years, we have grown a tribe of thousands of multiple social media platforms. We've taken our business from 0 to over 6 figures. We were recently named as top 50 small business leaders by Inside Small Business, launched our own online magazine called Real Mags, launched our Real Insight magazine, mentioned in Parliament several times, which was Alison's dad thought that was pretty cool, and been featured in a whole heap of different magazines and finalists in some awards. So that's a little bit about us. If you don't know who we are and you've just come across us through social media, that's a little bit who we are. But tonight is all about our gorgeous trainer, Suzy Jacobs. So let me introduce Suzy to you. Over the past decade, Suzy Jacobs has graced the business stage as an inspiring, empowering, and thought-provoking keynote speaker and emcee. Suzy, her fear silenced her voice and diminished her potential for the most part of 30 years, and far worse was the impact it had on the experience of her life. That was 30 years ago. Since then, Suzy's built. I know, right? He's coming up. There's Toby.
So cute.
Supposed to be in his PJs.
Hello, gorgeous.
Say hello.
Hello.
You must be Toby.
Say good night.
Toby. Hi, Toby.
Good night.
Mum,
After this, I'll come up.
after when you finish, can you
Yes.
get another blanket because I'm getting cold?
Okay, yeah. Go tell Dad.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, I'll come up. It never ends. Hey, I bet you everyone who can't have their video on is absolutely cracking up at me right now, but that's the life of a real entrepreneur mum.
That's it.
So since then, Suzy has built and sold a number of businesses, discovered the art of stagecraft, studied human potential, produced and hosted hundreds of events, and I have been at some of them. Delivered keynote and emcee in many audiences, I think in the thousands. Mentored business leaders, owners, speakers, loved, laughed, cried, travelled, and made amazing friendships. So This year, Suzy launched her first podcast, The Change Room, which I can't wait to get on and listen to. And I heard that you picked even our famous Tony Robbins at a
Oh, yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool.
Yep.
And reached number 6 on the iTunes podcast chart. So Suzy has learnt, yes, and continues to master the art of having her voice heard, and we are just absolutely thrilled, Suzy, to have you with us tonight. So I'm going to hand over to you so that you can take over for tonight. So thank you so much for joining us, Suzy.
Thanks, Soph, and congratulations on achieving so much in such a short period of time. That's awesome. It's really great to hear from you and about you. So obviously surrounded by amazing people here, and I just need to make sure that I'm sharing my screen. So I'm going to give it a go now. And Sophie, if you can just let me know.
You're good. Perfect.
We're good to go.
Good to go.
How cool is that? So it is a real honour to be here and a real pleasure. I was saying to Sophie that I'm not somebody who is ever late, but this evening was a little absurd. I was here 2 hours early. I thought we were starting at 6 o'clock, not 8 o'clock. So I've been ready for a while. But it is wonderful to speak to people who are on a similar journey and to share our experiences. So it gives me just a huge amount of pleasure to be here and to be talking about the art of having your voice heard. And this is really important stuff. I was speaking at the Women in Music event a few months back, and in that audience, I was reminded by 2 industry figures how difficult it is to get women to say yes to speaking opportunities. And in order for us to raise our profile, to have a greater impact in the world, it's important that we embrace this idea of being heard and of being seen. And so that's what we're going to be chatting about tonight. As Sophie says, fear silenced my voice for the most part of 30 years. But what was worse was this diminished experience I had of life. And I have spent, those 30 years sort of living in fear. This is a subject I know well. I know the pain of wanting and wishing to have my voice heard and to be seen and to feel stymied, to feel like I wasn't able to grasp it. For some of you who may know me better than others, I was the founder and owner of She Business, which was a mentoring business education network that I built over 8 years and sold at the beginning of 2017. And as a part of She Business, I ran an event called Fearless. I thought that I had said everything I needed to say about fear. But one of the things that I know 100% for sure is that we think that fear sits in some big-ass place. It's a fear of dying, or it's a fear of, jumping out of a plane. But actually, fear is more. What's the word? It's sort of. There's an undercurrent. It's harder to pick. So even now, at age 50, I still experience fear. There's not a time that it goes away. It's about being able to recognize it and then have the skills and mastery to move it on so that you can move through it more effectively. So, as I said, that for 30 years, that's how I lived life. And but that was a while ago. And as Sophie said, during that time, and I'm just about to try and move a next slide. I'm trying to move a slide here, and it's not going to work. Yes, it did. I got it now.
And be sure to put your questions in the chat box, guys, as we go along as well, so that Suzy can answer them too.
And I can't see that chat box, so I'm not ignoring you. It's just we'll wait till the end when Sophie can read them out to us. So that was 20 years ago. And as you've just heard, I've built and sold businesses, studied human potential, discovered the art of stagecraft, which I love, produced and hosted events using that stagecraft, delivered hundreds of keynotes, have carved a niche for myself in the area of emceeing. And then at the beginning of this year, when I thought that I had all of this stuff covered, I decided to produce and host my first podcast, which is The Change Room. And that has been an extraordinary adventure, and I've learned so much. And I thought that I would be able to go into that audio room and just do what I do on stage. And I very quickly discovered that is not possible. It is a very different skill. So I'm really immersed in the world of podcasting at the moment. It is a skill of its own. It's a medium very separate to stagecraft. And I absolutely love this idea of mastering it. So I have learned yes. And I've learned to say yes. And I continue to master the art of having my voice heard. It is an ongoing process. So tonight I'm really thrilled just to be able to share you everything that I know. And there are two ways you can be listening tonight. There is as an active participant, so you're listening to the content. You can also be listening as an observer, so you're almost stepping back and listening to the structure of how the stories get told and how the content gets delivered. So no matter where you are on your journey, a masterful mindset is one which always looks for the next level of mastery. So whether you're here as both curious observer and participant and listening, or one or the other, it is about keeping that mindset of mastery and always be willing to go, yeah, there's one extra thing that I can add to my toolkit and use as I go about having my voice heard and being seen. A few years back, it was quite a few years back now, in fact, one of my besties invited me to go skiing with them in Queenstown. And I don't know if anyone's been to Queenstown. Let me tell you, I think it's a gorgeous place. It's kind of like Switzerland, but it's closer and smaller, and they kind of speak the same language. And but I hadn't been before, and I was just blown away by it, right? So we were a definite yes. We were definitely going to go off and go skiing in Queenstown. And one day, soon after the invitation was offered to us, my daughter Sasha came bounding up the stairs at home and she said, "Mum, I have been researching New Zealand, and guess what? I want to go and do a bungee jump there." Quick as a flash, always one to be proactive. I was like, that is awesome, fantastic, love your courage, great news. But she hadn't finished her sentence. She said, "Yeah, Mum, and I want you to do it with me." Well, I could not breathe. You see, I had never shared with my kids my irrational fear of heights and of flying. And this is not just don't like flying or heights. Like, I had a visceral fear of flying, and it was so bad it would make me vomit, right? And if you speak to anyone who has traveled with me, they will tell you that I have either vomited on them while flying, or they have watched in horror as I've gone and vomited on the person next to me. And on one spectacular occasion, when I thought I had overcome the worst of this fear, I was walking down the stairs, down onto the tarmac, when I actually puked down the back of the person in front of me. Not good, right? I don't like heights, don't like flying. But Sasha didn't know any of this, because I didn't see any point in sharing my irrational fears when surely she'd have enough of her own, right? She's a human being. So in that moment, I decided to take a parenting approach I'd used for years. And Sophie, you might be up for this one as well. I said, absolutely, I'll come bungee jumping with you. No problem. Yep, I'm in. And I kind of felt that there was a good chance she would lose interest before I actually had to take action and go do it. So it's a couple of months later. We're in New Zealand. Tickets are booked. It's the day of our jump. And we go out to Kawarau Bridge. And I'm not sure if that's quite the right pronunciation. But there it was. And for those of you who've been to New Zealand, to Queenstown, it is absolutely stunning, right? The scenery is stunning. I couldn't give a damn. Could not give a toss about the scenery. I am just working up a sweat. My heart is just racing at a million miles an hour. And we're on our way there. And it's one of those moments where you wish that the highways or the roadways to the bridge were jam-packed with traffic. Not a person around. The roads were absolutely empty. We'd pull into the car park, make our way into the building. Not a person around. I'm telling you. No queue at reception. So we're straight in there. I've got no time to kind of recover. And anyway, we fill out the forms and we sign our life away on the waiver forms. And it's time to head out to the bridge for this bungee jump. I tell you, I am freaking out. I'm not happy. And I need to buy myself some time. So I do what every brave human being does in that moment. I said, I need to go to the toilet. And I slunk down the corridor and off to take shelter in the toilet cubicle. Yes. But, you've got to come out at some point, right? And I know she's out there and she's just waiting for me, and I certainly can't let her down. Oh, my God. So after a few moments, I brace myself and I start walking slowly down the corridor, out through the doors and onto the bridge. I am in awe, let me tell you, as I watch my daughter casually step up onto the platform where there is a 43-metre fall off the bridge. Cool as a freaking cucumber. I watch her just fall off the edge of this bridge, right? Fuck is the only word drowning out every other thought in my brain. I can actually feel my brain has stopped at this point. I go, I just can't do this. There is no way I'm doing this. I'm freaking out. But as I walk closer, I can see Sasha down there. The boat's picked her up and she's waiting on the side. And so I gotta take action, right? I've got to do this. So I let the boys clip me in. And this is what happens. That's a brave face right there. That's pretense. Hate flying, hate heights. I get sick. Oh my God, I still feel ill. Oh my God. My stomach still lurches at that point. There I am.
Oh my God, sorry, I have to come off mute. Oh my God.
Oh, it just freaks me out still, right? Just freaks me out. So here's the thing though. It looks amazing, but the truth is I didn't enjoy it. And what's the point, really? If we're not going to enjoy what we do, what is the point? If we're so wrapped up in fear so that we cannot be present and cannot enjoy what we're doing, you've got to ask yourself, why do it? So I believe that when we transform our experience of life, we can revolutionize our results. If we understand why we get so freaked out about being seen and having our voice heard, and if we work through the process to find our own answers, what makes us tick, we'll be able to say yes more often. So the opportunity is here for all of us to own our truth and to get real about what freaks us out. I've worked with hundreds of people, right, in business, creating keynotes, helping CEOs, PR, heads of companies, heads of marketing departments get up there and speak on stage. And over the past 10 years, I'll tell you two of the most common fears associated with being seen and having your voice heard. And the first one is our fear of being judged. And we are judging machines. We all do it, right? So one of the things you've got to get is that that's the way human beings operate. How we respond to being judged by ourselves and others is really the work that needs to be done. We get up there on stage and we think our fear is that we're being judged about our clothes, our hair, our values, our voice. I've got a speech impediment, for Christ's sake. I can barely get my words around the English language, let alone speak any other language. We worry about our content. And in Australia, in fact, we have a particularly sort of nuanced judgment. And it relates to the tall poppy syndrome. And I'm sure you're all there nodding your head. It is being judged for being up yourself or full of yourself. Right? It's alive and well in Australia. You do not want to put your head above the parapet because you are going to get judged. And here is the truth. That fear of being judged is stopping 99% of the population from even showing up. Instead, they're walking around as a poor facsimile of the person they truly want to be, wishing and hoping they were doing something else. And I speak from experience. I know that feeling. Now, acknowledging this judgment, understanding what's actually going on is a massive process. It is the work that will make the greatest difference to everything you do in your life. The Change Room, the podcast I was talking about earlier on, if you want to start looking at choice, judgment, freedom, choosing what you want, the context of really being able to create and cause everything in your life, go check out the Change Room podcast. You can find it on my website at suzyjacobs.com. It is a free resource that you can listen to anytime, anywhere. Practice those distinctions, and particularly this one around judgment. Do it daily, do it with rigor, and I promise you will start kicking that judgment to the curb and you will uncover your own unshakable truth. And it is a foundation so strong, you will revolutionize everything in your life, as well as your voice, or including your voice and your stage presence. I want to give you context for that work though. I've been doing this work for 15 years. I have performed an archaeological dig on my life to find my truth. It's not something that happens overnight. But put it in perspective, I do for myself. I go, wow, I spent 30 years living a small life based on what I thought others wanted, whether it was my family, friends, fools, anyone I'd listen to, rather than finding what my truth was. Once you get there, I promise you, it will be richly rewarding. But be kind to yourself. It takes a while to get there. There are resources available, and it all needs to be practiced and played with. So that's a fear of being judged, right? It's a big one. And it's something that you got to try on and practice, right? It's not something that we can actually go deeper into in this webinar. So let's look at the second biggest fear that people have around being seen and heard. And here it is. It is the fear of the fuck up. It is the fear around, I haven't done that before. What if I suck? What if I don't know enough? It is all the what ifs. What if people don't like me? What if I'm found out? Right? So here's the truth I'm going to give it to you right now, and it's going to let you off the hook. You will suck. You will fuck up. Just like every other speaker. Right? It is part of the process. It's part of mastery and building on your skills. So this is the place I want to spend the rest of this webinar looking at, This is where we're going to focus our attention, because it's this really practical skills that I can give you, easy to implement, stuff I learned along the way, which I wish somebody had told me about when I first started out. I can give you the critical speakers list that will have you perform better from day one. So let's dig into it. Let's find out what happens if you're asked to speak on a panel or deliver a keynote or presentation. And it starts really simply with a mindset. I'm still having problems with these slides. There you go. With a mindset, which is about getting curious, clear, and intentional. Because here's the thing. What happens when we first start out, and I remember this so well, and some of you who have done a bit of, presenting, facilitation, moderation as a moderator on a panel will know that when we first get asked to take these roles up in life, we are so starstruck. I remember I was, right? I was so starstruck. I was so grateful and thankful that I'd actually been asked to do something that I forgot to do any asking of my own, right? And this practice of actually having your voice heard at this very early stage and valuing yourself and your time and your expertise. So it's almost about holding off on the yes till you get curious, clear, and intentional, and you have some more information. And just to give you a quick example, in fact, this happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was put forward for to emcee for a big accounting and tax congress. I know it sounds exciting, but anyway, so I was asked, and somebody recommended me, and I spoke to one of the people organising this congress and had this great conversation with her. And I was telling her about, I was really using this time to educate her about what a great MC does. And, we got, halfway through the conversation, and she said to me, so, how much do you charge? And I told her what my price is. And she said, oh, okay, well, we actually don't have a budget for an MC. I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? So one of the things I found, and one of the positions I'm taking in the Australian market, is we actually undervalue MCs. We just don't get the power of a great MC, right? So I take every opportunity to educate, which I did with this woman. In the process of educating her, she actually got to see what the value of an MC is. So that by the end of the call, she said to me, look, I'm going back to the committee and I'm going to see whether we can get a budget together for an MC. And she emailed me today and she said, I got the money. Now, she couldn't get my full asking price. And I'm generally I'm willing to negotiate much on price. And again, that comes to a real value proposition. But what I did work out was that if she would allow me to take a photographer and a videographer into the room in the first session so that I could get great content for my new show reel, I was willing to take her price, and it would be a really valuable experience. So yes, it's an interesting process, but holding your line, asking lots of questions, be willing to educate the person and not get sort of caught up in being starstruck by the experience. So what do you need to know to get curious and to get clear? Well, you need to have some information which is going to allow you to make an informed choice. And the person who's asking you will really respect and value your input here, and they'll learn a lot from it as well. So is the topic that they're asking you to present on as a keynote, is a topic of interest? Truly, right? And who's the audience? Are they people that you want to talk to? So if at this stage in your career and your level of mastery, you're willing to speak for free, knowing who's in the audience and whether they are your tribe is critically important, because otherwise, I'm telling you, you're going to spend a lot of time out there talking to people, hoping that they're the right people, and then wondering why you're not kind of getting the response and the feedback and the business generation from speaking. So find out who's in the audience. How many people are in the audience? And what's the length of the presentation that you're giving? And they really vary a lot, right? So you want to know how long you've got to speak for. And this is something, this next question is critical, and it's one I hear people miss all the time. What does the organizer want as an outcome from this keynote? It's a great question to ask. What's the outcome the organizer wants? And then following that, what outcome does the organizer want for the audience? And often they are two different things. If you don't know those things, you don't know how to create your content. And for some of you, you'll already have, chunks of your content ready to go. But it's never about getting up and delivering the same content every time. A great speaker knows who they're speaking to and can take that information and really make eye contact when they're up on stage and know they're delivering to fulfill that organizer's requirement and the audience requirement. I also think it's really worthwhile to ask why they chose you. And it's not an ego thing. Don't get caught up in that. It's you'll learn something. I know that when I go back and have a look at all the feedback I've had from speaking, either as an emcee or as a keynote presenter, everyone says the same thing, right? So I have now built enough evidence to know exactly why people hire me and ask me to speak. But if you're newer in the game, you want to start getting a sense of why you. It also then makes it just really easy to deliver that. Or if they've got the wrong idea of who you are, to be able to clear that up at the beginning. So by the time you're on stage, it's a perfect match. Okay, so getting intentional. You are the most important resource in your life, right? Keynote speaking and having your voice heard, being seen, takes time. Seriously takes time. It is an investment. So you need to be able to ask yourself questions about whether you have time at the moment to create a keynote to deliver to the audience. Will the skills that you're going to create in mastering this subject for them, at this particular time in life? Is it going to be useful? Like, as we start filling our toolkit in life, we want to make sure that we can repurpose those skills. Using them once and putting them to one side, it's not effective. So will these skills be useful? Will you have fun doing it? And to me, this is a big one, right? So I asked 3 great questions. Well, they're great for me anyway. Will I have fun? Can I add value? And will I make money? Really? I'm 50. I'm really clear about why I work, how I work, when I want to work. And those 3 things, the answer to those 3 questions, give me a great insight. So they're my 3 questions. Maybe think about your own. For some of you, it might be, will it raise your profile? Again, is it the right audience? Is it the right sector? Is it going to do you justice in you spending your time getting ready for this? Would you like to do it? We do a lot of stuff that we have to do in our life. Get rid of that stuff. Do the stuff you love. What's your return on investment? Is it going to be payment or is it potential business? And going back to that idea of subject, do you know this subject? Would you like to research the subject? Understand whether the time that you invest is going to pay off, as I said, in either payment or potential new business. So get those questions together and be in conversation with the people that you're talking to about events, and they will love you for it, and you'll be able to be so clear and so direct in delivering exactly what that person wants. You'll just kick goals all the time. Okay, so you choose to say yes. Woohoo! At that point, if you're a yes, there's some stuff you want to know about presenting, right? And the first one is to understand that there is an art to storytelling. Honor it. Practice the structure till you know it. And then make it your own. So a really simple storytelling structure, and some of you are probably already killing this one, hitting it out of the park already, but basic storytelling goes high, low, high, right? Start off rah, 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 take them down to a low, take them back up to the high, and then give them your 7 greatest lessons, your 5 greatest insights, your 3 biggest mistakes. That's a basic structure for storytelling. I can tell, and sorry, there's your structure, right? Start with that structure. It is a great sort of framework that's going to keep you on the straight and narrow through the early stages of learning and mastering. For those of you who are listening and already out there doing it, the real skill and the next level mastery is that ability to be able to make that structure your own. And for those of you who are listening, who have done the courses, who have been to seminars and who have learned that art of storytelling, I bet you can tell when you sit in an audience whether someone's been able to go to that next level of mastery and make it their own, or whether they're still at that newer stage of just using the structure. So remember, as I said at the beginning, it doesn't matter where you are, just look for that next level of mastery. So honor the art of storytelling. And it's not about so you can parrot it, it's so you can adapt it and make it your own. Okay. Practice is not perfection. Practice is about progress. And I worked with a wonderful woman called Karen Smith years ago. Some of you may know her. I'll never forget her saying to me, Suzy, I practice 40 times, 40, in case you thought that was 14, or 40 times for every keynote she's going to take to stage. And guess what? Even with those 40 times, you'll still fuck it up. I remember in the very early days of Fearless, we ended up with 350 people at the Crystal Ballroom down in Luna Park. But when we first started out, it was like a free event, and I had 30 people rock up. I basically lassoed them off the street and forced them to come into this crappy little dingy, smoke-filled, beer-stinking carpet, holy moly carpet place in Chatswood. It was hideous, right? That's where we started. Tickets were free. But you stick with something long enough, you make progress, you get there. So it was a couple of years into Fearless, probably year 2 or year 3. And so I had done the art of storytelling. I was practiced. Maybe didn't practice 40 times, but I would have practiced at least 30, right? Get up on stage. I've been introduced. I'm up there. I'm in the middle of the stage. I have not opened my mouth. And I have forgotten everything. My mind goes blank. Could not believe it. I've got about 130 people staring up at me. So I turned around and walked to the back of the stage. And I breathed. And I reminded myself I know what I'm talking about. I let enough oxygen race back to my brain. I continued the deep breathing. I gave myself those messages. And I turned around and I delivered my keynote. It's going to happen. So here's here's the gold, right? The stuff up is a given. It's the recovery you want to master. That's the piece. We all stuff up, whether it's on stage, on a podcast, in business. It's how we recover that shows a true level of mastery. Okay, let's move on. So that is practice is progress, not perfection. Love this guy. So get ready to be uncomfortable through the entire process. Just part of it. You don't want to be uncomfortable, stay home and watch TV. The greatest judge is not anyone external to you, it's you. You cannot feel judged by someone else until first you have judged yourself. So notice the conversation in your head. The trick is not to believe it. Judgment, the one that condemns the most, is the one inside your head. So the level of mastery is to recognize it, to acknowledge it, to accept that judgment is a part of life. It's a part of being human. And your role is not to agree with it. And it's to remind yourself on a daily basis. You know, in the change room, we talk about your Thrival kit, right? The toolkit that you're going to go to every day to practice these distinctions. Whether it's meditation, whether it's morning pages, whether it's whatever work that you're doing, I've got a toolkit that just builds all the time that I can go to. And if I'm feeling that sense of judgment or fear, I know what to do, and I take responsibility for the fact that the danger isn't agreeing with it. So what do I need to do to ensure I don't agree with it? Okay, so get ready to be uncomfortable, embrace it, part of life, and build your toolkit. Okay, we better move on. Next one, 4, beliefs don't lie, right? Now, this little picture, in case you don't know quite what it is, it was my image of, I was trying to show a mud cake is still a mud cake even when you decorated it with the most beautiful flowers, right? You can put pink icing on a mud cake, it's still a mud cake. So when you are on stage, if you have got stuff which you do not believe yourself and you deliver that to an audience because you think it sounds good, because you heard somebody else say it, your audience will know immediately that there is a disconnect. So make sure that if you have somebody listen to you, you really got to have somebody listen to you deliver your stuff, somebody who you trust, who you know will be a great partner in this process. It's like one of my superpowers, right? As soon as I listen to somebody on stage, the second they say something which is incongruent, I go, yeah, they don't believe that about themselves. And I was working with this woman the other day who's a global head of PR, right? And she was used to delivering keynotes where she would work purely with slides. And she really wanted to break free of those slides. So she'd asked me to do a few sessions with her. And she's talking to me about what makes her great as this global head of PR. And as soon as she said it, I said to her, nah, that ain't going to wash. We've got to talk about this. And we unpacked it. And, well, she ended up in tears, but not because I was making her feel bad, I promise. Just because it was part of the process, right? So it's part of that discomfort thing. It's a part of being true to yourself. And it's an amazing process to go through. It's not that you're wrong or that you shouldn't be there. It's the opportunity to unpack some of those dormant beliefs that are coming up to bite you on the bum and really deal with them as a way to make sure that you just, that your message gets heard. Okay, sound bites sell. So structure and sound bites sell. Think about pop music. There is a formula for success. There's a structure which makes it easy for the majority of people to connect with us. That's what makes, pop music popular. And it's the same with a keynote. If you're on stage, if you're delivering something on stage, the chances are you're selling something, right? So make it memorable. Make sure that you take your pieces of information and really distill them down to their true essence and find those ways of alliteration and memorable ways that you can package up your content, because such structure and sound bites sell. So, things like judgment kills curiosity. A brand is a promise kept. Sound bites sell. Transform experience, revolutionize results. These are all things which people can our brain loves to absorb small, chunky little messages like that. So make sure you're doing that with your content as well. There is, point 6 is smoke and mirrors. Stagecraft is about smoke and mirrors. 93% of communication is nonverbal. And as I said to you earlier on in this webinar, I found this out much to my detriment when I went into the audio booth to podcast, right? I realized what a beautiful thing being on stage is, where we can use our nonverbal communication. We can use the way we dress for theatre. We get to make eye contact. We've got a whole stage to perform on. Use all of it, right? Really see it as an expression and a way to express who you are. It is an absolute joy to do that, and it's a sin not to. And again, when your judgment brain starts going on overdrive, it shouldn't matter what I wear and it shouldn't do, all that kind of stuff. Forget it all. This is stagecraft. This is smoke and mirrors. Enjoy the theatre. And we are there to entertain people as much as we are there as a resource. So use all the skills you have to really engage that audience so they get what you have to give. Okay, we're getting to the end. Please ask for help. If you get to this end of this webinar, there are things like and free resources like New South Wales Speakers Association, Toastmasters. There are private seminars like Karen Smith, I still think, runs online courses. You can do one-to-one coaching, depending on what your resources are with money and time. There is plenty out there. So don't struggle alone. It's just not necessary. It's like Sophie said, that's what real mums are about. It's that support system, so you're not doing it alone, because we can all get there faster and with a far greater level of joy if we're doing it together. Just wrapping up, because I know we're getting short on time. I love this quote. It is one of my favorites, right? If you're not slightly embarrassed by the first product or service you take to market, you waited too long. And that comes from the founder of LinkedIn, right? So don't look for perfection. This is progress. And, it is... When I did the change room, and I listened back to some of the podcast first episodes, and it was like, oh my God, well, we don't suck at this. That's the best I could come up with, right? But if I go back and listen to episode 2 versus episode 8, I can hear the difference. But it didn't stop me going out there to market. So just pull something together, get in the game, and I promise you will just have an experience of having your voice heard and being seen, raising your profile, producing results in your business, and giving a gift to the world, which will be an absolute joy. And I'm here for any other questions. I will finish off with just one of my last slides, and in fact, I'm not quite sure what notes I put with that, except that was when I had done something very brave and courageous. I went and walked Lara Pinta, having never trekked before, having never camped before, and the end result was extraordinary. And so for all the fear, we pushed through anyway. So I want to thank you very much for spending the past hour with me. It's been an absolute joy to share what I know about having our voice heard and being seen. And thank you. And thank you to Sophie, and thank you to Alison for the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, Suzy. I have got so many notes. It is ridiculous. So make sure you grab down the Change Room podcast. Jump in the chat box right now if you have any questions. I've got a couple myself to ask her, so we've got a couple of minutes if you want to quickly whip up a couple of questions. But it's interesting because as we were going through, and I can't show my video, sorry guys. So
before you start, can I stop the share so we can?
Yeah, perfect.
Take it back.
Thanks. Maybe that'll work. Oh, I think you might need to stop your video. I don't know. See if that works. Oh no, let me see. No.
Have you got it?
Yeah, it won't let me. That's okay. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, that's fine. So it's interesting because as you're going through, and I'm sure a lot of other people probably can relate to this, and I liked how you pitched at the beginning, you take away something different. So as you were talking and we were going through around, it won't let me. Hang on 1 second. Let me just do something.
So I can see, I seem to be back on video.
Yeah, it won't let me.
No.
Anyway, that's okay. As we were going through, I could, take different things away from it. So, you're the one around beliefs don't lie. It's the same in your business, right? So even if you're not on stage, but in Real Entrepreneur Mums, every meeting, we pitch our business to each other and we grow our confidence by, doing it every meeting, standing up and getting used to talking about ourselves and talking about our business. And you really need to, create that mission statement of yours that you wholeheartedly believe in. Why, what is it that you do for your customers that no one else can do just like you. And you have to really come up with something that you believe in, because like Suzy said, they'll know that you don't believe in it, that you're not really passionate about it. And, you know, your customers will be able to smell that as well as an audience. So I really, really love that. And, you know, for a lot of us who are entrepreneur mums, you know, whether we were, you know, in the corporate world or had a job before, and then all of a sudden you're at home, you've got a couple of kids, you've got a husband, and, you know, life is so different. So we do go on that discovery of, you know, who the hell am I now? So, you know, getting really congruent with, you know, your business, your message, and who you are is so important. I really, really love that, Suzy. It was great. A quick question from Tony. She wants to know, did you get in the helicopter?
I did actually, Tony. That was a very funny. We walked Larapinta, which is 240 kilometres. It leaves from Alice Springs, and you end out at Mount Sonder. And I was walking with Amanda, who was in that photo, just the two of us, and out sleeping just under the stars. We got lost on day one and had to get rescued by Northern Territory SES on day two. Day two. We did make it back out to the track, but it was a very funny story. And yes, we were rescued by helicopter.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I know. And I'm going out again. I'm going to Broome to walk the Lurajari Trail at the beginning of August, which is 9 days. And you're just sleeping out under the stars again. So I'm so excited about that. So I'm going again.
Wow, good on you. You know, face the fear and do it anyway. Tony wanted to know as well. It's funny because as you were talking about your fear of flying, Tony has the exact same fear. I don't know if she's ever thrown up on anyone. We might have to find that out over the next time we have wine together, Tony. But she wanted to know, she said, no, not yet. Is it okay to have fear and still deliver?
Tony, fear is there all the time. What sits behind it is the part that we need to work on. So I have moments of fear coming onto this webinar. I'll have that, oh, is it good enough? Oh, you know, all of those thoughts. The difference is that I now have the skills and tools to go, oh yeah, that's just old beliefs. It's not the truth. I don't agree with it. I know I'm good enough. I know I've got the content. I know what I know, right? So it is being able to understand that is a part of human experience of life. And the difference is, the problem is that we agree with this fear. So stop agreeing with it, Tony. It's not true that you're not good enough, or that you can't, or that you suck, or any of those sorts of things. We've just, out of habit, we've believed our fears for so long, they feel as though they're the truth.
Absolutely. We need to create a new belief system around something that is true.
100. Look, there are some I had around money, Sophie, from years ago. And I really, practiced that new shifting belief systems, and it works. But it's not an affirmation. It's not just putting pink icing on a mud cake. It is really about understanding what's actually going on, and then just going, yeah, it's not that, and I don't need to agree with it.
Absolutely. Tony's texting me, that's why you can't see it, but she's saying that she loves that, and she's building on her skills. It is so real.
That is awesome, Tony. Keep building. That's all we can do. The level of mastery, I think that as human beings, when we put this at the center of our world, this messy, icky human stuff, this is the stuff that transforms our experience and therefore transforms our business results. I see it all the time, that it's never the practical implementation of a business strategy that becomes the problem and the sticking point. It's our fears, it's our old belief systems, it's our judgments, and that's all just habitual thinking. Shift that, you shift your experience of the world.
Talking my language there, Suzy. Another thing, if anyone hasn't got any questions, as you were talking, I love that statement. You have to tell me who said that again. So if you're not embarrassed by the first product or service you took to the market, you waited too long. I would love anyone to comment around that, because we hear this all the time. It's about that everything's got to be perfect, and they're waiting for the right time, and they're wanting to make sure that everything looks perfect before they launch their website or whatever. And there's never going to be a perfect time. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
I remember when Alison and I first were launching Real Entrepreneur Moms, sure, we could have went away and spent months and months and months coming up with, what we thought was perfect. But ultimately, you've got to get it out there. You've got to get your business out there. You've got to get out there and listen and take feedback. Like in our first community, we used that as a test and learn. We had 20 women, and, each meeting we'd tweak it, we'd get feedback, and that allowed us to scale quickly because we had that time where we were tweaking it. It's the same thing whether you're speaking or starting your business, launching it, whatever. You just got to get it out there and just grow and learn from there. But who said that? You're going to have to text that through on who actually who said that quote, because that is
it's the founder of LinkedIn, Soph,
right.
and I'll send you his details. And just for anyone who's still on listening, the absolute anxiety, like doing the podcast and getting that out there, and knowing the best I could do was, okay, well, we don't suck, and that was okay. I wasn't looking for perfection, and there's a real shift in the way you approach life when you can do that. But it still was, oh my God, everyone's going to be listening, and oh my God, the judgment. So it still happens, but you just do it anyway.
Yeah, we have this saying, fuck it, I'm just going to do it anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
And you just do. And once you do it, a few times, it gets easier and easier to get through that fear that's holding you back. So look, thank you so much, Suzy. I've got messages coming in on my phone. Everyone's just really, really valued your time, your content. This has been perfectly positioned. You're in the right spot to hear the right message at the right time tonight. And, call to action, everyone. Make sure you jump on and check out Suzy's podcast, The Change Room. I can't wait to get listening on that, and obviously connect with her on Facebook and LinkedIn. And if you have any more questions, please reach out to Suzy online, or come through me, and we'll hook up. And hopefully Suzy will be able to do some awesome collaborations in the future, because you are just absolutely awesome. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Soph. Thank you so much for asking me. And it's been a pleasure to see Bianca and to Sonia and Jackie and Gina and Tony. I haven't been able to see all your comments as I was talking, but it's lovely to see your words up on my screen now. So, guys, go out there and rock the world. It's a joyous experience. It's wonderful. There's lots of support, and it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you tonight.
All right, everyone, we will see you in a fortnight from today, where we will have another guest speaker to share with you their wisdom. So be sure to join in and jump on our Facebook group and let us know what you thought of tonight, so that we can share the message of Suzy's great story. Bye for now, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.